Do we have any public members up in the north?
Yes, we do.
Can we go ahead and introduce them?
Just introduce for the record.
Yes, Lynn Beggs on behalf of Smaller Store and with Jennifer Hamilton.
And that was all.
Okay. And the public members for South?
I'm Terry Chow with Future Smiles, and I want to thank the dental board members that have come to visit our recently opened dental wellness center. Thanks, guys, for your time for coming to visit us.
Sir?
Dr. Michael Karupe, I'm here just to renew my license.
Thank you. So first we'll start off any public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each individual. Any public comments from the north?
No problem.
Okay. So we're going to go on to the executive director's report.
Yes, in your board book materials, you should have received the draft minutes for the board meeting that was held on March 22nd, and the draft minutes for the Committee on Dental Hygiene meeting that was held on the same day. If you've reviewed them, if there's any errors, misspellings, anything like that, you can let me know now. Otherwise, if there are none, I request the board approve these minutes.
Sanders moved to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 22nd, 2019 of the board and the meeting of the dental hygiene, Committee on Dental Hygiene of March 22nd, 2019.
Do we have a second?
Second, Blasco.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The next item is the financials. So these are the balance sheet and statement of revenue, expenses, and balances for the period of July 1st, 2018 through March 31st, 2019. Ms. Hummel's here to answer any questions you have regarding the materials you received and any updates that she wants to share with you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So there are just a couple things I wanted to go over on the statement of revenues, expenses, and fund balances first, and if anybody has any questions, and I'm happy to answer any of those for you. One of the more significant differences that we're seeing is in licensing applications with the dentist, and that we are seeing more endorsement applications than we are in some of the others. And so you can see in the report the difference in budget versus actual, and you can see that shift pretty clearly. So that there. And then also we have, we don't have the similar kind of shift in the hygienist licensing.
What does that mean by endorsement?
Application by endorsement.
So in the last legislative session, under a different chapter, if you meet a certain criteria, you don't have to take a clinical exam. So the board can accept any national exam, or say years ago you took a state board exam, you would then have that reviewed by the board, and if they accept it, then you would be granted a license. So kind of like licensure by credential, very similar.
Okay. And then also under other licenses and fees, we do have a pretty significant increase in people requesting lists. So you guys might be getting more bombarded with stuff. And then we also have miscellaneous income, a significant increase in that, but that is actually reimbursed legal fees through court case. On page 3, I did want to point out some items that were budgeted, but those expenses are not going to occur for this budget period. We had budgeted for CE classes, and the board will not be doing those CE classes in this budget period. It may come up in the next budget period, but it's not going to in this one. We had budgeted $50,000 for that. We also budgeted some funds for doing some repairs and painting here in the offices. And that work is not going to be done in this budget period. It may come up in the next one, but it won't be in this one. One of the other items that we had budgeted for that is not going to occur in this budget period is an anesthesia calibration expense, $10,000. And so, again, that's not going to occur in this budget period. It may in the next. And that adds up to about $66,000 that we had budgeted that we're not going to be expending. Again, this is only through March, and looking at April, some of these numbers are going to come more back in line, like the income numbers are going to come back in line with budget. And other than that, does anybody have any questions?
Just a definition question.
Uh-huh.
The balance sheet talks about deferred revenues. What is
Yes.
tell me what defines a deferred revenue?
Deferred revenue is funds that we have collected, but have not, what is the word? Have not been expended or not in our... Allocated yet.
Okay.
So what we do is when it comes to like the license fees, so now we're currently in a period of renewing licenses. So all those funds go into deferred revenue, and it's actually allocated throughout 12 months over the next budget period.
So is it allocated in the fiscal year starting July 1st?
Yes.
Is that what we're essentially saying?
Right, so what we have right now is the deferred revenues that we currently have are for this budget period,
Right.
and those will all be allocated in this by June 30th. And then we'll see additional deferred revenue coming in for this new licensing period, and you'll see that come up on the report for the new fiscal year. And then those will be allocated over the next 2 years.
So I'm just trying to understand why it was listed under liabilities.
Because we haven't earned them yet. That's income we haven't earned. We earn it on a month-to-month basis.
Okay. That is a projection of anticipated income, is that what it kind of amounts to?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Can we confuse it anymore?
I'm not an accountant.
That it is a little confusing.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Just like deferred inflows, deferred outflows, with the pension and stuff, that's a little bit confusing. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So the next item is the authorized investigative complaints. So I'm requesting the board authorize an investigative complaint regarding Dr. Z. The board has received information from the board's licensing specialist that Dr. Z has failed to file current board recertification for his or her designated specialty license in accordance with NRS 631.255. And that's when they come in and they're licensed as a specialist by credential. They have to have their board certification at the time, and then they must maintain it and provide that to us. And if they don't, then that could result in them not holding that license, so.
Sanders, a question on that? Wasn't that on our last
It's a
meeting
different one.
agenda?
Uh-huh.
It's a different one?
Yes. So I'm requesting the board approve to authorize an investigative complaint against Dr. Z.
Do we have a motion?
I move we authorize the investigation.
Second Blasco.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passing the motion? All right. Motion passes. Moving on to travel. So for travel, we have OSAP boot camp meeting, May 30th through June the 2nd in Tucson, Arizona. And Miss Joan is going to be attending that. Miss Joan, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I've never been, so I will hopefully have some great information when I attend and bring it back to you guys for the next meeting.
What does OSAP stand for? Occupational Safety and it's
ASAP.
Yeah, it's one of the largest groups that is for compliance that works directly with CDC. So they're the kind of like the standard of keeping you updated. So they have this boot camp that they offer. Leslie Dilligan, our prior board member, she attended it and she said it was very helpful and she brought resources back to us that we were able to make available to the licensees. Perfect.
So how does that work? Like a CE for?
It's held once a year.
Yeah.
It's always in a different state. So last year it was in Texas.
I'm just curious how that works with the board, like.
So they explain all the changes
No, not what the OSAP does.
because we do infection control inspections.
Oh, I see.
So
So
when she
we need
comes,
to know what changes are coming about from CDC that personally affect dentistry.
so when she comes back from the conference, then she'll hold a meeting, and then she'll hold a meeting with the board members, and then if we need to hold a separate meeting with the infection control inspectors, then we'll hold another separate meeting with the infection control committee, and then the inspectors will come, and then we'll pass along the information to them.
And also, our regulations require that dentists adhere to CDC rules and regulations. So this will give the board the ability to disseminate that information to the licensees so that they can be in compliance.
And also, if there's upcoming changes to the CDC guidelines that affect dentistry, we have a regulation that requires the board to approve those changes. But if they don't make if the board doesn't approve those changes within 30 days, then it's automatically adopted. So it also gives you the ability, if something were to be coming through CDC that you may or may disagree with, it would give you the opportunity to discuss that.
To make that an exception
Right,
to our rule that you have to follow the CDC guidelines.
This is Pisani. I make a motion that we approve travel for Joan Chapman.
This is Panther, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to go to contracts. Mr. Lee Dreisen, who was here earlier.
Correct. So the current contract expires on June 30th that we have for Lee. And he's under the maximum contract amount right now, and I've been tracking that. But with the 120 and the other things that are coming about with the lawsuit, we will need to extend out that contract. So I'm asking that the board approve the contract for Lee.
Move to approve the contract for Mr. Dreisen.
Sorry, is there a chance that are we renewing it for another year?
Correct.
Okay.
Just to keep him on in case other come about, and it's for the original amount that the last one was for, which is $70,000.
Second, Sanders.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Just curious, are they together? The two lawyers?
Yes.
So we're going to go to the general counsel's report.
Okay, so the only current legal action is the Abbey Dental matter, which we have received our attorney's update just for public information. Several orders have been entered over the past week or two, and those are all available publicly, having to do with denial of the petition for writ, denial of the motion to amend, denial of our motion to enforce subpoenas, and the judge has ordered a settlement conference. So those are the orders that have come through. You've been given updates from our attorney, and I don't think that there are any further questions.
And just for the record, that the board prevailed in all those aspects.
With the exception of one,
Right.
with the exception of the subpoena issue, correct.
We're gonna go on to new business. And we're gonna go on to the consideration of application to reactivate inactive license NAC 631.170. Mr. Michael, Dr. Michael.
Carufe.
Say it?
Carufe.
Carufe, okay.
Had a hell of a time in kindergarten.
Would you like to come up to the microphone and say anything? Right there.
So you should have the application to reinstate the inactive license. I'm going to call you Dr. K.
Yeah, right there.
For Dr. K.
I always went by Dr. Mike, so.
Oh, Dr. Mike, that's even easier.
Easier. So, as you're aware, if someone has been out, has placed their license on inactive and have not practiced, so I've not maintained
Clinically.
an active license and no active license for 1 or more years outside of Nevada during the period, then they have to come before the board and you have to determine whether you're going to reinstate the license to active status.
So I have a question. When was the date that I know it was right here a second ago, that your license went inactive? July 1st, 2015?
Yes.
That renewal period? And then you have not practiced anywhere since? So what's the 2-year window of non-clinical practice?
So if it's 2 or more years, the board can either require a skills assessment or can require the licensee to take a clinical exam. My understanding though is, I believe this was a health issue? Or
I'm actually physically disabled. You wouldn't know it looking at me, but I'm actually numb from my right elbow to my hand.
So when you're asking for the reinstatement, my understanding is you're asking for limited, because I believe you're going to go work for an entity that...
Yeah, management consulting possibilities in dentistry.
So are you going to practice clinically?
I cannot, even if I wanted to.
Okay.
But he needs to, so you would maybe do some diagnosing or...
Reviewing?
Or,
Yeah, I mean, it would be reviewing x-rays, so on and so forth, and determining whether or not the procedure is valid.
yeah, so that's why you would need the active license. So you're basically asking to reactivate your license, but with limitations?
Yes.
Do we have that designation that we can have a limited license, or we do that as a board? We can limit him to just diagnosis, no clinical treatment?
Correct. Yes, we've done that in the past.
We can do that?
Yes.
Like we do with Dr. Roll? Okay.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I do have a current California active license with no restrictions, but I still can't practice because of my physical disability.
All right. This is Blasco. I'd like to make a motion to approve reactivation of license for Dr. Michael Carufe, with the limitation that he may practice dentistry except for any clinical aspects of dentistry.
Second, Pisani.
Any discussion?
Just a point of information, please, Sanders. In 631-170, and I get to read these things a lot as the Secretary Treasurer, it does say if a licensee has been placed on disabled status, the person must, under paragraph D, submit to the board a statement signed by a physician or dentist setting forth that the person is able, mentally or physically unable. So do we have, or
If
can
you
we
don't
get?
mind, I would love to address that, because
Yeah,
I actually
please.
have an issue with that. I don't think there's too many people in my situation. It's something that's kind of like turned my life upside down since my accident. With that said, I have been placed on permanent lifetime membership with the Dental Society here in Nevada, which is great. My liability insurance, lifetime as well, as far as back years. However, with the board, there's really no designation. I kind of fall into a crack when it comes to my position, because I would love to stay active and You know, and I read articles all the time. My CEs are up to date. The issue is I can't physically practice, so what do I get categorized as? Do I get categorized as a disabled dentist?
May be categorized as correct me if I'm wrong, as a dentist with an active license with a limitation to
There you go.
practice non-clinical dentistry.
And I've never received that designation because of the fact that I was always keeping my license active.
Right.
So if I was to keep my license active and a miracle happens and I can actually practice, because there are a lot of other disabled dentists that have other issues where they can actually go back to. It would behoove them to never let their license, you know, just become inactive. So I asked the board back in the day if they would actually allow that to where I could, you know, just stay inactive without having to pay, as the Dental Society has, you know, given me that status. I don't have to pay for my membership in the society. So with that said, I mean, it's kind of strange, because let's say somebody's disabled back in 2005 and they've kept their license active, right, by paying their dues and doing their CEs. That's all they've had to do. When they come back, all they have to do is start practicing again, which is a little scary in a way.
Well, if they,
Actually, there is a statute that talks about if you hold your license and it's active and you have not practiced for a year, it will automatically revert to inactive, okay? So when somebody tells us, I have a disability or I've had a car accident and I'm not going to be practicing, we tell them to place it on inactive because it may revert anyway. But also, the board needs to know if there's something that may hinder your ability to come back, because somebody might think they can come back and they have all the skill, but their doctor may not feel that way. This is a mechanism for the board to be able to protect the public and make sure. So you placing on your license on inactive was the right thing to do. The problem with placing it on disability is if you're getting disability insurance and then you go to hold the active license, then they may think you're actively practicing, which would conflict with you receiving disability payments.
Absolutely. I mean, without my disability insurance, I would be buried.
Correct.
I've had to reinvent myself. I mean, you can only imagine if you're a practicing dentist for 20 years and all of a sudden you have to reinvent yourself and you know nothing but dentistry. So it's been very.
So that's why the board has entertained when people come back, if they have limitations or so forth, then the board can consider granting the license. And
I have a question for Doctor or the board. Let's say we wish you all the best.
I appreciate it.
Really. And if his skills were able to return, would he at that time, if he wanted to change his license from a limited to, let's say, a full license, would he be required at that time to maybe take a skills assessment?
that would be for you to determine, because he would come, he would come before the board,
Okay.
explain, and then that would.
Which we hope would
for
be the
board
case
to-
one day.
I'm mostly concerned.
That you'd be able to practice.
Right, this time it's a little bit tough, but yeah, I appreciate it.
Disabled to you for records of the board.
I'm sorry? We don't need that. We
Okay.
don't ask for that.
Okay.
Yeah. We would only ask for it is if they're on disabled status, they placed on disabled, they let us know, and then they want to come back to full practice, where they're actually doing clinical, then we would ask for that
So
medical.
he's really
But
no
he's
different than
not-
some of the other ones we've dealt with.
Right, the difference is he's already saying, I'm not doing anything clinical.
Okay.
And, right.
You want to recognize somebody outside the board?
Hi, Miss Terry. Would you like to come up and say something?
I would, if I may. So Dr. K, there's lots of opportunities for public health if that's something you're interested, because you have a mind.
Yeah.
So here in Las Vegas, well, I mean that with all respect. What you have in your mind from dental school, what you can contribute in a public health setting would be very utilized, well utilized. So here in Southern Nevada, we have volunteers in medicine. They have students that come down from Jordan, Utah. They need a dentist to supervise those students.
Mm-hmm.
So the students could do the dental work, but you could do the examination and the supervision.
Right.
And then I run a nonprofit, Future Smiles, and I think we could work something out as well.
It's really funny, I just heard of Future Smiles yesterday.
Did you really?
She created it.
Yay! So,
I've been approached by several management companies,
Yeah.
big companies, in California and in Nevada now,
Look at you.
that are actually asking me to do such. Some are asking me to physically diagnose, and I can't. And some are actually asking me to do it, like in California, through teledentistry.
Yes.
And with that, I can sit on my couch and actually do what I need to do. And I've already gone through a lot of the training for it, because I have friends that actually own like 15, 20 offices and want me to be the chief compliance officer for them, chief clinical compliance. With that said, it's a tough call where I want to go right now. I haven't really focused on dentistry so much in the last 2-3 years, because of that, I've had to reinvent myself in other ways. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out, so now I have to go back to what I know. And hopefully it'll work out, so I appreciate your input.
and I believe the board can give him a special public health type of licensure, right? Isn't there something within the?
Just
No?
limited.
Yes.
No, it would
It's a
be,
limited
he would
license
be
to be
just,
covered.
yeah, we would just limit his active license to whatever his limitations are.
Okay.
And it would be stated on your license, and then if for some reason you're able to come back, or you feel, or then you would come back before the board if you want to expand on those limitations.
And I, like I said, like in California, I have no restrictions. I can actually go practice if I wanted to. It's a bit strange. As far as, yeah, with teledentistry, actually, my friend who's actually trying to push that and is actually doing it now as we speak in California, is actually trying to focus on community health centers for that throughout California. So it's
Mr. President, this is
I'd love to talk.
do we have a motion and a second?
We have a motion.
Yes, we do.
So we already did the discussion.
We did the motion, Dr. Blasco.
I know.
There's-
I was
On the
second.
23rd, we
Second.
had like 8 credits.
Basani seconded.
3 and 728. So did you just go take the test on all of those?
I was online, basically doing a lot of.
Because I was
know
like,
a lot of Cs.
I'm gonna have to figure out how he did that.
I was in my
Just-
on my couch for a good 10 hours straight.
Call for the vote.
Okay, all in
I
favor?
have other Cs if you like for me to provide that are at different times.
I'm good.
I know what you're trying to say.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
I greatly
You're
appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome. So we're gonna move on to approval of voluntary surrender of license, NAC 631.160. But first, we have Carrie Hansen
And Robert Hill.
and Margaret Hill.
So they submitted their request. They want to voluntarily surrender their licenses here, and they're aware that it's irrevocable and it's absolute, and that if they should want to return to the state of Nevada, they'd have to go through the entire application and licensure process. And they have no pending matters.
Move to approve surrender of license, Blasco.
Any second?
Second, Pate.
Second, Basani.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to approval of anesthesia permanent permit, NAC 631.2233, general anesthesia for Dr. Paul Bowman.
So normally Dr. Dr. Moore would handle these, but he's excused, so he is the one that reviews these applications and notified us that they are, the applications are in compliance.
Okay. So we have a motion?
Move to approve, Bither?
Second?
Chandler, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to moderate sedation, patients 13 years of age and older, and that's Dr. Chung Tang.
Move to approve, Basani.
Second, Champagne.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Third, moderate sedation, pediatric specialty, 21 years of age or younger. Dr. Samira Baraka. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve
Motion to
Sanders.
approve, Bither.
Second?
I'll take Pinter.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Going on to approval of anesthesia temporary permit, NAC 631.2254. Moderate sedation, patients 13 years of age and older. We can take them as a group. Dr. Aaron Aska and Dr. Wong. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve Pinter. Second Champagne.
Just for clarification, did Dr. Moore approve all of these also?
Yes. Yes, so all the applications regarding anesthesia have been reviewed and they meet the requirements.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Second, moderate sedation, pediatric specialty, Dr. Ingersoll. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Basani.
Second Pinter.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of 90-day extension of anesthesia permit, NAC 631.22542. General anesthesia, we'll take it as a group. Dr. Thomas Mott and Dr. Tate Mate. Myatt. Dr. Myatt and Dr. Tate Viwing. All right, do we have a motion?
Approve, Basani.
Second Champagne.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. So we're gonna go on to legislative session update. Do we have anything from any members?
As you probably are aware, SB 366 has been the hot topic in dentistry. It was originally that the Nevada Dental Hygiene Association had a bill that they wanted to have their own independent board, separate from our board. It also included dental therapists. It included being able to do local and nitrous without the supervision of a licensed dentist. And so,
Teledentistry.
and teledentistry was in the bill as well. So, through the legislative process, the Dental Association no longer is seeking an independent board, so they will remain with our board. They are working out the language for dental therapists. So right now, if the bill passes, it will provide the ability to have dental therapists in the future. The local and nitrous issue was, they're not seeking that from my understanding. I don't know where they're at with the teledentistry though.
That's out too.
That's out too. So that's basically, the bill has now been condensed down to focusing on dental therapists.
Hey, Deb, this is Pinter. Do they have a geographical location on dental therapists, or is it just statewide?
It's statewide.
You know, so if you have a dental therapy license, you can practice at a large clinic in Vegas or Reno or anywhere.
Yep.
It's not just restricted to rural dentistry.
Still to be finalized. There is a lot of
Yes.
discussion on that issue in particular right now.
I don't think it has to be a large clinic either, it could be any clinic, right?
It could be
Yeah.
any dental office, but the dentist has to enter into a contract with the dental therapist.
The bill also states that a dentist can only supervise up to 4 dental therapists. We'd like to see that 2, but it's 4 right now. And the other issue is that when the bill went to the Senate after committee, it got referred to Senate Finance Committee, who found a financial impact in it, sent it back to the Senate floor. On the Senate floor, something with a financial impact has to be passed by 2/3 of the senators voting on the bill, which means that it's no longer something that will be decided upon party lines, because Republicans have to vote for it to get 2/3 in the Senate. So I don't know, one of the issues being debated is the insertion of the geographical restriction to get the Dental Society to be more supportive of the bill, although I think the Dental Society would like to see it killed. But it is not quite yet decided because they still have to have consideration of the financial impact statement in the Senate.
So they don't know the fiscal aspect of the bill?
Yeah, they've got some numbers, perhaps not guaranteed validity in the numbers that they have. The sponsor of the bill initially said there was no financial impact. Somebody else in the Senate decided there was and sent it to Senate Finance.
Who was the sponsor?
Senator Ratty from Reno.
When it came to going to finance, the board did not submit a fiscal impact statement. We initially submitted a fiscal impact statement because there would be a fiscal impact to the board should the dental hygienists get their own independent board, because we would lose all that revenue. But we would also reduce some expenses. So I provided all of that. With it being just the dental therapist, there is not a fiscal impact on us, because we also gain revenue because they apply for licensure here and they have to renew and so forth. So we get the revenue. So to us, there is no impact.
So the dental board would be, we would be in charge of the dental therapists?
You would be
Correct.
licensing and regulating the dental therapists.
And the dental therapists are hygienists.
There are hygienists that go back to school and attend this dental therapy program, and then upon completing that,
My understanding is dental therapists basically just have a high school education.
No.
No. They have to be hygienists.
So in Nevada, they're proposing the dental hygiene. In Alaska and Minnesota, it's different.
Yes.
Right.
I think the way the statute or the
I wonder
amendment
if they
currently
did that,
reads
so-
is that they have to be hygienists
Took the
as well.
hygienist part out of it, so they could get the therapist part in, and then the following, after it gets approved, then the hygienists get their own board the following year. And then they're out. And then there's,
The dental therapists were always going to be under the board, because the dentist is the one supervising. So whether they had gotten their own board, dental therapists were going to fall under this board's jurisdiction.
so if you're a hygienist with a dental therapist, then you have to be under the dental board part?
Correct.
Yeah, because you're supervised by a licensed
Correct.
dentist.
Right, and your scope of practice is beyond the defined scope for a dental hygienist by law in Nevada.
I mean,
You can only supervise 4.
Move on.
All right, let's go to the committees. Legislative and dental practice. Dr. Pinther, anything to?
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you so much.
Legal and disciplinary action, Dr. Blasco.
Nothing to add to what we've already heard today.
Examination liaisons, Rev and Irv, Blasco
No.
and Pate.
No news.
Continuing education, Dr. Champagne.
No, but Ada.
What about Ada?
Hey, that
Oh,
is-
Ada, so
Same
Doc.
thing, same thing.
Same thing.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
You have a meeting though coming up in August, I believe, right?
Haven't heard anything on them. Been waiting to hear something from them.
Oh,
I have heard nothing from them.
The ADEX meeting is typically in August. in
it
Chicago.
is, yeah.
I haven't heard it either.
I was on the thing, on their website. I'll send you the information.
Yes.
And I sent them a letter saying that you're the
Dr. Pinther said
representative.
he's received nothing either.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I got something. I said hi.
All right, so, and then continuing education, we talked, Dr. Champagne, nothing?
No report.
Okay. Committee of Dental Hygiene, Ms. Pate. So we have the approval and reject recommendation to amend NAC 631.210 regarding utilizing a laser, there's a typo there, a laser for the treatment of herpetic cold sores by dental hygienists. for possible
I
action.
thought we had to wait until after the legislature
Yeah.
met before we made any decisions on this.
No, so on this, no, because on this one, well, you have to bring your recommendations back to the board, because if they don't agree to it, then it's a moot point. So the number one, E1, does not require a regulation change, because right now it doesn't say, that was why we had to do it. It doesn't say you can or you can't. So they were asking for clarification, and you're suggesting that they can. Or the committee recommended that the board approve.
The committee recommended that we approve this. With one, well, let's
The
say
the
3
way,
or 4.
from the hygiene meeting, there was a motion that the committee recommend to the board to change NAC 631.210 to allow dental hygienists to use lasers to treat active ulcers.
Aphthous.
Huh?
Aphthous.
APTH.
O-U-S.
Oh, well then this is, this needs to be changed.
In the draft.
In the draft, yeah. How, APH?
APTH. OUS.
Okay, aphthous ulcers. So that was what was discussed at the hygiene meeting.
So they're asking the board to approve allowing dental hygienists to utilize the laser to treat cold sores obviously after the dentist is diagnosed, because you still have to diagnose it.
Wait, are we talking about cold sores or aphthous ulcers?
I don't know, because when we spoke at the meeting, they were used interchangeably.
They're two different lesions.
And they're kind of like everywhere too.
Okay, but I don't think our committee cares whether it's just one or the other. I think we lumped them all together, and we're talking about herpes labialis and aphthous stomatitis. So I think that the committee came and said that, if I recall, that it was going to be okay for a hygienist that was trained, laser certified, that they could treat those lesions, those 2 lesions.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's what I remember.
Yes.
Sanders here, the only question I had by somebody looking at this was the issue of diagnosis and making it clear that the diagnostician and the treatment plan person is still the dentist. That this is really putting another instrument in the hands of the hygienist under the guidance of the dentist treatment plan.
Right, because it's going to fall.
I think the dentist is supervising the hygienist anyway.
Yep.
Right.
So she's not making her own treatment plan. She's not practicing independently. She's practicing under a dentist.
You know how jumpy dentists get.
Oh,
So you have to be under the authorization and supervision of the dentist.
Because you have to anyway when you're utilizing a laser. And they have to diagnose.
Right.
And they have to be laser certified.
Correct.
Yes.
Sanders,
Sorry.
that's right. That's if we approve it, we have a hearing on it.
So what'll happen is, if you approve it, I would draft up the suggested
yeah.
language that would come back to you. Would there
We have to
be a
hold the public-
workshop?
yeah, we have to hold-
There'd be,
Right,
we go
public
through the
workshop.
rulemaking procedures.
LCB then?
Yes, yes.
Move to approve Blasco.
Second,
Oh,
Chairman.
but Dr. Lee had a question.
Well, not with that, but the other bleaching centers, just bleaching on dental.
The teeth bleaching?
Yeah.
Who regulates them?
No one.
No one.
All in,
FTC made sure of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
so as far as that's concerned, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Who was the second? Blasco or the motion?
Wasn't it Sanders?
Yep.
That's fine.
Number 2 is approve or reject the recommendation to amend NAC 631.173 to add the American Academy of Dental Hygiene as an automatic approved continuing education provider.
So right now, currently, the way the regulation reads, there are certain entities that get automatic approval for continuing ed. And so the National Dental Hygiene Association is one of them. So when this person wanted to be, this entity wanted to be recognized and get automatic approval, what we found out is they are actually the ones who approve the courses for the National Dental Hygiene Association. But the way that the language is written, we just felt it was better to add them so it's clearly spelled out. So that's what they were requesting, and then the committee their recommendation is to change the regulation and add the American Academy of Dental Hygiene as an automatic approved provider.
Sanders moved to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Moore's not here for anesthesia committee. Dr. Champagne, Dr. Sanders, anything to report?
No.
I have something, just, I think it would fall under this. I received an email from Michael Silverman of the Docs Education, and he's extending an invitation to any of the board members if they wanted to audit a Docs course to see how minimal sedation is taught. And so if you're interested in doing that, let me know and I'll give you the information.
Yeah.
Just passing along the invitation.
Passing the love.
Infection control, there's nothing to report other than Ms. Sandler is going to the OSAP boot camp at the end of the month in May. Then Budget and Finance Committee, Dr. Sanders?
We have probably covered it sufficiently during the course of this meeting already.
All right, so we were gonna, any public comment from Ms. Terry before we leave? 3 minutes? Anybody up north left?
No.
Nope. All right, any more announcements?
We're halfway through the dental renewal process, so if anybody hasn't renewed their license, you have till June 30th. We'll be sending out a reminder postcard to everyone and hopefully an email to follow up to make sure that the dentists renew their licenses. Just so you know, and just a reminder, when you do renew your license, if you do it online, you'll get an email that gives you your pocket card. So be on the lookout for that.
All righty, we're gonna call this an adjournment.
Need a motion?
You need a motion.
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion Blasco.
Second, Sanders.
All right.
Any discussion?
Oh, any discussion?
All in favor?
Motion passes. Happy Mommy's Weekend. Bye.